basically, we can have very high value inventory, but their average demand, their satisfaction level is also low. Right? This is very counterintuitive. We spend more money and we have a lower DS. So this is why it's very confusing and difficult to optimize the inventory as a whole. Maybe because we don't have an effective way to do this. But actually there is. I give you an example to describe this many-to-many relationship at an inventory level. So we have a very simple 10-item inventory. These are real. I have a LinkedIn paper. I give a link to this spreadsheet. So only 10 items in the inventory. The top one is the baseline settings. Just like we do always, we assign a single DS for every item in this inventory, 91% in this case. If we do that, we have 130,000 total safety stock value there. Right? Actually, we can plot this baseline settings in this chart at the lower right level corner. It's represented by the blue circle at the cross of two lines, blue and green and red line. So that's the baseline, right? 91 DS and 129K money. Then on the right side, on this side, we have a different set of DS for each item. Instead of assigning universal single value, we do it intelligently, right? By doing that, we maintain the same safety stock value, which is 129K, but our average DS increased to 93. And this situation is represented by this red circle here. Red circle is on this red line, means same total amount, right? But it's on the right side of this blue circle. It means it has a higher 93 average DS. So it's like we get those higher DS for free, right? We don't spend more money, but we increase DS by 2%. Then look at the bottom settings. We put different numbers for each item, the DS, different numbers. By doing that, we maintain 91%, the same DS average, but our safety stock value decreased by $20,000. It's represented by this green circle at the bottom, right? So its DS is still 91, but we save almost 20% of the safety stock. That's nice, right? Here I want to convince you a notion. Basically, given any status quo settings, there are always ways to improve it. There are many ways. There are many settings that are better. Actually, any settings in the light blue zones are better than this blue circle, right? Because they have lower money amount, but they have a higher DS. This is what I said right? If we look at the inventory level, you can spend less money and have a higher DS. This is the room for improvement. It's like we get free money, or we get free DS, right, without spending more money. They are very exciting. And then if I convince you this thing is valuable, then you may be wondering, Jay, where did those numbers coming from, right? You know how to assign 91%. Then how do you know on the right side, 85 to the first item, 95 to the second item, 99 to the third, right? Where did those numbers coming from? That's the key question. Actually, if we do this manually, it's very difficult or even impossible to come up with those DS settings, even for 10 items. If we are dealing with thousands, hundreds, or 10,000s or more, this is simply beyond humans' capacity. So actually, those numbers on the right and on the bottom are produced by our intelligent software. This is our core competence. We develop this advanced algorithm. What's the best in this algorithm is that the inventory measurement, average DS, and the total safety stocks, those summary information, they are part of the algorithm. They guide our algorithm to derive those DS. So unlike other approach, right, we talk about ABC analysis, those average or total safety stock, they are after fact calculation, right? Only when we are done with DS assignment, we calculate those statistics. They are not part of the guidance in this whole process. So we should always keep in mind that those important numbers at inventory level, total safety stock, and average DS, they should be inherent component of any approach, not something trial and error after fact thing. So in next slide, I will show you exactly how this thing is done. And also I will show a more realistic example. So on the left side, customers like you provide an inventory file. Basically, in this text file or CSV file, each row represents the item, right? For example, we have item number, location, and demand. We have demand, annual demand. This is not necessary, but it's helpful if you want the average DS to be weighted by demand. This may make sense, right? If you have a bigger size, bigger volume item, you may want to weight it heavily so that the average DS will be more impacted by that item. So we can put a demand there. Of course, we have lead time, we have standard deviation, and the unit price, right? Those are available for every item, I believe, as long as you have a system, right, to keep track of those things. And more importantly, and this is required by many customers, because customers want to enforce some, some range. For example, we don't want everything is done by machine. For example, you really like this item. It's really important. A life-threatening situation, if we don't have this item, then we can set the low DS for this item to be very high, 99 even, right? And the boundary, the high boundary to be 99. So this low high boundary are some hard control given to us as a human being. We can exercise our power to define within what range or even precise value we want the DS to be for this particular item. In my case, I don't really care. This is so actually this may be a good thing. I will let the machine to figure out the things. So I simply define every low DS as 85%, high DS as 99, right? To make things easier, and let the machine to figure out. So another important input, other than this file, is the horse, which is the budget. Now, our executive says, I only have $87 million for you this year. Okay, then we take this $67 million. We put both the file about the inventory and this budget number, and our software will keep running, depends on how many parts, how many items you have. Eventually, we will be able to produce these settings. Right? These settings could be, in this case, 200, right? Item.